Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Monday Night Raw post-show review, this time for December 1st, 2025. I am your host, Josh, as always. On the post-show reviews, if you're new here, I break down everything that went down on Monday Night Raw, whether it be the match results or the segments, everything that went down, I go through it. If you're returning, welcome back. You know how this works. Yeah, I'm going to be breaking down everything. A very solid episode of Monday Night Raw, and I'm going to be breaking down my reasons on why this was one of my favorite Raws of the year. Still doesn't top the one that we had not a couple years ago, a couple weeks ago. Um, but this was a really solid episode of Monday Night Raw. A lot of advancement in storylines and a lot of cool and interesting things that went down here. So I'm gonna be breaking all of that stuff down here in the post show. Before we get into that, though, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos and podcasts and interviews that come to the channel. Check out the Kayfabe Central website. That's where I post all my coverage posts, articles, written predictions, all that good stuff is over there on the Kayfabe Central website. We also have a group and community section over there as well. So if you want to ask me any wrestling related questions or just talk amongst yourself in the group and community section over there, feel free to. We also have a Kayfabe Central Discord server, so similar. If you want to build a little community within Kayfabe Central, we have a wrestling server and a non-wrestling server. So um, if you guys want to chat it up about anything wrestling related or non-wrestling related, go check out the Kayfabe Central Discord server. Um, yeah, all that's out of the way. I may sound different because I am dealing with a cold at the moment, so I am doing this with like half of a voice. So bear with me if I cough in between here. It's because I am sick as hell, but um, I definitely wanted to do a post show for this episode of Monday Night Raw. Um, because like I said, I really enjoyed it. We kicked off the night with Rhea Ripley and Io Sky coming out, and they were then after they had mentioned that they want a shot at the Kabuki Warriors for the tag team championship. Um, they were interrupted by Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, who said they also want a shot at the tag team titles against the Kabuki Warriors. So they set up a match later tonight, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair versus Rhea and Io. That was then later made official for the main event of Monday Night Raw. So nothing crazy in this segment. And yeah, well, I'm gonna talk more about the women's division later, because we had a lot happen to close this episode of Monday Night Raw. But in terms of opening the show, there wasn't really anything spectacular. This could have honestly just been done in a backstage segment or something, and you could have opened the show with the vision segment that you had on this episode. Um, and I'm gonna be breaking that down as well, but. It was what it was. It's not a promo you need to go back and watch. There's nothing really important said in here. It was your generic babyface and babyface promo. Um, Backstage, Adam Pearce is on the phone to make Alexa and Charlotte versus Rhea and Io official. Ivy Nile then walks up to Adam Pearce and says she wants a shot at Maxine Dupri's Women's Intercontinental Championship. Adam Pearce says once Ivy Nile is done training with Natty, then she can get her shot. And Ivy Nile says that's fine. Um, Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker then walk up to Adam Pearce and they want to talk about not the masked attacker, um, but they want to talk about Braun Breaker pinning CM Punk, the World Heavyweight Champion. So they go into Adam Pearce's office, um, and then we figure more about that out later. But we then went to the Last Time Is Now tournament semifinals match. LA Knight defeated Jey Uso to advance to the finals of this tournament. This makes me so happy. I don't think Jey Uso should have won this match, and he didn't. And I've been saying that all throughout the weekend. I think all last week as well. It just didn't make sense for Jey Uso to win this match, and I'm glad that they went with LA Knight and. I'm almost a little bit surprised because Rue and Stu were mentioning this on the podcast as well, how they don't think that Jey Uso is going to lose clean. That was the case. Jey Uso did lose clean. He lost due to a roll up. Um, he hit the Uso splash. LA Knight kicked out, or at least I think it was the Uso splash that he hit. But LA Knight kicked out, then turned it into a crucifix pin and got the win and advances to the final. So this was definitely the right move. I had a feeling that this was the angle that they were going to take, but a part of me was a little bit scared because, it's Jey Uso and it's a WWE. Um, but just based on the promos LA Knight was cutting, it just seemed like he was set to go to the finals. Um, in terms of the match, it was fine. There wasn't anything crazy. There were a couple slip ups on both sides. So definitely wasn't the best match of the night. Um, there's definitely other matches that can, uh, be the best match of the night that I'm gonna get into. But this definitely wasn't it. Jey Uso, of course, messed up a few times in this match as well. I think at one point in the match, um, it seemed like Jey Uso was actually mad. I don't know if it was him selling or whatever. But it was after LA Knight kind of slipped on the ropes when he does that leap up superplex that he always does. He kind of slipped up a little bit. And it happens. Like I'm not saying that that ruined the entire match. Um, but it was just like bits and pieces of like messing up. It realistically it kind of does affect the match quality, of course. So um yeah, I don't know if he was actually heated, but after the match when Jey Uso lost, he decided to trash the ringside area. He tossed the prime stand, and then he tossed the steel steps. So yeah, I wonder if this is going to lead to a Jey Uso heel turn. We had another segment with him a little bit later on in the show. Um, but yeah, Jey Uso was not happy after losing to LA Knight. Um, backstage, Lyra and Bailey ask Adam Pearce for a tag team championship opportunity. And Adam Pearce just says he will keep them in consideration after tonight's main event. Um, the Kabuki Warriors then approach Bailey and Lyra, and Asuka calls Bailey an idiot for not joining uh, her War Games team and says if Bailey was on the team that they would have won War Games. So Asuka is just being a little bit petty. Um, so again, nothing really crazy with that backstage segment, but it then set up what happened later on as well. So I guess when you look at the grand scheme of it, I guess there was a little bit of sense added into this segment because the past couple of weeks um we've seen Bailey, Lyra, and the Kabuki Warriors interact, but nothing's really come of it. So yeah, I'll get into that. I know I keep saying that, but like a lot of the stuff happened later in the show. Um, the Judgment Day came out, and Dominic Mysterio introduced Liv Morgan, saying, "Oh, Liv Morgan's back." Liv Morgan then told the Judgment Day that she's been hearing that the Judgment Day is weak, but that's gonna change now that she's back, and they're gonna get all the gold that belongs to the Judgment Day back. Um, she then slapped Dom and then kissed him. So, uh, again, this was something you could have done backstage. I felt that this segment was kind of useless. Um, and yeah, could have put this time into something else. I don't know what, but you could have put it into something else. I just found it pretty useless. Um, we had a vignette of Maxine Dupree training with Natty, so not Natalia. A lot of people may not know the difference. That was not Natalia, ladies and gentlemen, that she was training with. That was Natty. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. My dog was whining in the background, so I had to quiet him down a little bit. But yeah, so this was definitely Natty. So I wonder if we're gonna be getting Natty coming to the WWE and we're gonna get that gimmick, which is definitely exciting. Because that's the more badass version of Natalia or Natty. And even Adam Pearce earlier called her Natty. So that's definitely gonna be exciting because Natty is just a badass as we saw in GCW. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. Um, Backstage, Adam Pearce told referee Eddie Orango to keep his ears peeled for anything that may have been out of the ordinary on Saturday with the masked attacker. So getting the referees involved is definitely a classic WWE thing, and sometimes it works, and I guess in this instance it could work. Um, so yeah, they've done this kind of thing before. Um, and then yeah, we had a follow up on that later. But we then went to the World Tag Team Championship match. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. Took on the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston for the World Tag Team Championships. Um, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee retain in a very entertaining match. Very fun match, and the ending was just so smooth. Um, I believe it was, I think it was Kofi that was hung up on the ropes. And Dragon Lee then jumped and stomped on Kofi's back, and AJ Styles caught him midair into the Styles Clash. It was just so perfect, so smooth. Um, and yeah, the match itself was really solid. I know this was something that I wasn't really excited for, but you know what? They put on a good showing, and I'm all for that. If this match was a stinker, then I would have been like, okay, my suspicions were right from the get-go, and this meant nothing. But this was a solid match, and you know what? The New Day is a great tag team. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee are both talented. We all know Stu loves Dragon Lee as well. So, um, and rightfully so, he is very talented, and hopefully he can get some more time to shine because he is getting a lot better as time progresses. And you know that I guess that's just what happens when you're teamed up with AJ Styles. Um, but yeah, solid match there. So that was definitely a thumbs up from me. Backstage, Jackie Redmond interviewed Stephanie Vaquer about her defeating Nikki Bella. Stephanie's pretty much just said Nikki Bella found out what happens when you betray me. She got burnt. She's then approached by Liv Morgan, who just reminds her that she's back and congratulates Stephanie Vaquer on retaining the Women's World Championship. So obviously the seeds planted for Liv Morgan for Stephanie Vaquer. Um, I'm all for it. I'm all for that match. You can do a match with two of your biggest stars, two of your biggest women stars in the company. Absolutely do it. And I love Liv Morgan. I love Stephanie Vaquer, and I will never say no to that match. So yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to whenever they do that match. I'm not sure if that's going to be like a Royal Rumble thing or if that's something they're going to drag out all the way till WrestleMania. Um, unless like I don't know if they still want to do Fat Care versus Rhea for WrestleMania. So that's all up in the air right now, in terms of where that goes. But at least you plotted the seeds. Um, for Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan. It's just about capitalizing on that and how you're booking this going forward. Is Stephanie gonna have some like other feuds in between until we finally get that Liv Morgan match, which is probably ideal so you don't have your women's world champion just sitting in the back doing nothing. Um and you know just cutting random promos backstage that mean nothing. So hopefully we get something that develops out of this. Um because it's not going to be Saturday night's main event that they have that match. It's way too soon. And that's going to be about like NXT versus main roster and then John Cena's retirement match. So maybe the Royal Rumble. We have to wait and see how they book this and what their strategy is in terms of if they want to drag this out or if this is something they want to act on almost immediately. Um, we then had a segment where the Vision came out. Paul Heyman introduced Logan Paul as an official member of the Vision. So, um, I didn't think that he was going to actually be an official member. I thought he was just going to, um, be there for the War Games match, but apparently not. He is going to be tagging alongside the Vision more, which I guess is fine. Obviously have my personal opinions about Logan Paul, and I don't like the guy personally. Um, I think he's a piece of shit, honestly. He's a piece of shit human being, and um, I will never have any interest in him being on my TV screen. I will say that Logan Paul's character, it works perfectly. I just wish it was, with a different and better person. And like, yeah. But he's a part of the Vision. Paul Heyman then announces on January 5th, so the first Raw of 2026, it'll be Braun Breaker versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. I believe that is going to be, he said, the 1 year anniversary of the Netflix debut. So, um, very interesting. I'm wondering if maybe they do Liv and Vaquer on the January 5th episode, potentially. Yeah, I wonder if that's the route that they're gonna take, and maybe Liv wins it off back here or there, and they build from that. Um, because I can see them wanting to build that show as a really big show because they used to do the Raw Day One specials. So I could see the first Raw of the year with them doing the Netflix anniversary and stuff being a pretty big deal, and them having pretty big matches on those cards. So. Um, yeah, maybe that's where we get the Liv and Fat Care match, is what I was gonna say. But Braun Breaker cuts a fantastic promo. Such a good promo. Definitely his best promo that shit, not even on the main roster, his best promo that he's cut, period. This was so damn good. And as soon as he cut this promo, I was like, you know what? I will have no problem if they put this world title on him on January 5th. I will have no problem with it at all. Um, I at first thought that maybe it'll be too quick, but after that promo, man, like you got to be put on notice after that because he just went in. It's going to be very cool to see him and CM Punk actually go toe to toe on the microphone and how that's going to play out. But in terms of this just solo promo, um, he's speaking to the camera, he's fired up. He took his jacket off and everything. It was just so good. Um, yeah, Braun Breaker is amazing, man. He's doing a phenomenal job in this role, and I think you keep him in this role for a very long time, as long as you can, honestly, um, because he is striving in this role, and um, he very could possibly win the World Heavyweight Championship on January 5th. So, definitely something to keep an eye out for. Backstage or well, like in the parking lot, Jey Uso was interviewed by Jackie Redmond. Um, Jay was, kind of ignoring Jackie's questions a little bit. He was visibly upset. Um, and then he went along to say that Roman said those titles look better on him, but maybe they don't look good on me. Something along those lines, he said, and he then walked away. So I wonder if we are getting that Jey Uso heel turn, and if we are, how is it gonna work? Um, is he gonna turn on Jimmy Uso? Is Jimmy gonna try to talk some sense into him? Is it gonna be similar to the fantasy booking that I've been doing the past couple weeks with Jey Uso turning heel? If you haven't seen those videos, go over to my shorts or my TikTok or Instagram and check those fantasy booking videos out. Um, So it looks like we could be en route to a more serious or heel Jey Uso, which is not going to change the fact that he can't wrestle. Um, but maybe the character will be a little bit more interesting. Maybe the character will actually be a little bit more tolerable than this whole Yeet nonsense because it is just wearing off. It's not, it was cool for like 2 weeks and that was it. Um, I still don't think he's a good wrestler. And but hopefully he can get a better, gimmick if he is turning heel and make him a little bit more tolerable. We then had the other semifinals match of the Last Time Is Now tournament where Gunther defeats Solo Sikoa. This is going on my list of match of the year, 100% because they absolutely tore the house down. I was locked in from the start of this match all the way to the finish, because this was the match I was most excited for. I'm like, this is either going to be really good or this is gonna be eh kind of match, and it was really good. They went back and forth. Um they were beating the ever hell out of each other, man. Gunther's chops. There was a one point Solo just hunched over and he didn't want to take the chops. You could see visibly he didn't want to take any more chops. And then Gunther just raised him up and chopped him again. You could see Solo just getting mad that he has to take these chops. Solo also delivered some solid chops of his own. Tala Tonga tried to get involved, but the referee caught them. And Gunther delivered a low blow to Tala Tonga while the ref was distracted with Tala on the outside. Gunther then low blowed Solo Sikoa and hit the power bomb to win the match. There was a lot of near falls in this match, though. If you missed Monday Night Raw, um, this is definitely a match to go back and watch. 100%. Along with the World Tag Team title match, I'd say. Um, really good stuff here from Gunther and Solo. Um, yeah, going on my list for match of the year, 100%, because they tore the house down. Uh, Backstage, Adam Pearce is told by Eddie Arango that other than Seth Rollins being outside the arena, there was nothing suspicious. Um, I realized I completely miswrote on the website. Um, yeah, I gotta maybe fix that later. But uh, he's told there was nothing suspicious other than um Seth Rollins being outside the arena. AJ Styles afterwards walked up to Adam Pearce and brought up the fact that Seth Rollins was without his sling. Obviously, they're talking about the mass attacker and who it could be. Um, Obviously, it's not Seth Rollins, but that's the route that they're going with the story. Or hell, maybe it does end up being Seth Rollins. He's tricked us once before, so maybe it does end up being Seth Rollins. But the build of the guy just did not look like Seth Rollins, and I don't think at this stage of his career, Seth can get in and out of the cage that fast. Um, but the wrestling geezer brought up a good point where he posted something on his TikTok where he said um the person that entered the cage on at Survivor Series doesn't necessarily have to be the person they end up revealing it to be. They could have had it be someone completely different and then maybe switch their minds and maybe Seth is ready to go and then all of a sudden Seth was the masked attacker. I wouldn't put it past them to do something like that. But if they go with the person that was actually under the mask, it did not look like Seth Rollins, obviously. So and I don't think it's gonna end up being Seth Rollins. I believe the guy actually did just have shoulder surgery, so there's no way in hell that it's gonna be him. Um, I want to assume that maybe they just had him out of his sling momentarily, just because they knew that somebody would record it, and playing to the suspicions that it was Seth Rollins, but obviously it's not going to be. Um, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee then tell Adam Pearce they want to defend their tag titles again next week, and they choose the War Raiders to defend their tag titles against. Now, at first, I was like, man, I really wish it was the Creed Bros. I don't want to see the War Raiders again. But then I thought about it. I'm like, the tag team titles on Raw being defended 2 weeks in a row. You know what? I'm for it. If you're gonna really, develop this tag team division, and this is your way of doing it, that's fine. The War Raiders are a good team anyway. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee are talented, so that could be potentially a great match. And I'm glad they're actually doing something with these tag titles. I'm glad that it's not just, they're just sitting backstage doing nothing. Maybe my complaining worked. Maybe my months of complaining about this tag division, maybe Rue's months of complaining about this tag division along with Stu finally worked. Maybe that was it. Um, but no, I think this is a good start for the tag team division. Um, I do hope it's ultimately the Creed Bros that take those tag team titles away from them. Sorry guys, I'm dying. I warned you guys at the start of this. I'm dying. Um but yeah, after that we had another backstage segment where Rey Mysterio is asked by Jackie Redmond if he's going to go after Dominic Mysterio's Intercontinental Championship. He says it's not off the table. It's not impossible that he could go for it. Logan Paul then interrupts this segment and says that the Intercontinental Championship belongs to the Vision, and goes a little bit personal with Rey Mysterio, calling him a deadbeat dad. Um, Rey Mysterio ultimately slaps Logan Paul officials, backstage officials, separate them, and they're yelling or whatever. So that's obviously setting something up between Logan Paul and Rey Mysterio. Um, I don't find this too interesting. We've seen the Logan and Mysterio thing before, and we saw that over the US title, so now we're seeing it over another mid-card title. It's not the most interesting thing in the world, but it's gonna be interesting how they involve Dom and the Judgment Day into this with the Vision. Um, it kind of seems like things are going all over the place, but if they have a set plan with this and how they're gonna, you know, go at it, maybe this could be a really good thing. And maybe this Logan and Ray thing can, expand into something bigger. Maybe I'm giving them a little bit too much credit. But it's very possible we get something like that. And I guess we just gotta wait and see where this takes us. Uh, Maybe we get a Logan and Ray number one contenders match or something. I don't remember the last time they actually did a number one contenders match. Um, Even in AEW, actually, I can't remember the last time I've seen just a match called a number one contenders match. Um, so maybe they do something like that though, with Logan and Ray. But we then went to the main event of the evening. That was Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss taking on Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. That ended in a disqualification because the Kabuki Warriors attacked both teams. This was a good match, and when the Kabuki Warriors interfered, I'm like, typical Monday Night Raw. This is your typical Monday Night Raw ending, and it's boring and it's stupid, and I don't want to see it again. Then Bailey and Lyra comes out and fights off the Kabuki Warriors, and then Liv Morgan along with Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez lay out the field. And they stand tall to close Monday Night Raw. And even more importantly, Roxanne Perez hands the tag team title to Liv Morgan. But then Liv Morgan hands it back to Roxanne Perez and holds the hands up of Roxanne and Raquel. So I don't think that we're getting this Judgment Day split anytime soon. I Unless they're completely swerving us. And Liv ends up turning on Roxanne or something like that. But it kind of seems like they're just going after all the gold again, which is not, I won't lie, it's not the most interesting thing. What is interesting though is the fact that they're actually doing something with this women's tag team division. And you're actually getting all these teams involved. Like you have Rhea and Io involved now. You have Charlotte and Alexa involved now. Now you have Bayley and Lyra involved. Now you have Raquel and Roxanne involved. This is good. This is a good place to start because now everybody's involved. Now everybody has something to do. You have a lot of matches you can make out of this. If you do it right, you could maybe, just maybe, drag this to WrestleMania and do a huge multi-woman tag team match for the tag team championships. Um, and on the road there, maybe have the tag titles, switch hands a couple times. Maybe, you give it to Bayley and Lyra, and then it goes to Raquel and Roxanne, and then maybe it goes back to the Kabuki Warriors, and we take it to WrestleMania. And then you throw Lash and Nia into that mix as well. Um, I think this is good. I think this was cool. I think this was a cool way to end Monday Night Raw. Um, while the Judgment Day holding all the gold is not necessarily an interesting thing. Um, I like the fact that we've planted seeds for a lot of things, like the women's tag division, like I just mentioned, the women's world championship picture. I don't think Balor and JD are winning those tag titles back anytime soon. I think that they might end up being the, um, I guess, weak links of the group. And Liv Morgan's not going to be very happy with them. So I'm going to be intrigued to see where that goes. Maybe Balor gets the boot out of the group. Um, because when Liv Morgan was talking about the Judgment Day looking weak, Finn Balor had a very, sad-ish look on his face. Um, so maybe Balor gets the boot out of the group and Balor turns babyface, he feuds with Dom, and the Judgment Day stays intact without Finn Balor. Um, again, I think there has to be a point in time eventually you split this group up entirely and everybody goes ahead and does their own thing. Um, so I'm really like in between here. And it's very weird because I like the fact that we're doing something with the women's tag division, but I don't like the idea of the Judgment Day holding all the gold again. We've seen that, we've been through that chapter before. It's not the most interesting thing. Um, but I think if they do go the route of Balor and JD being the weak link, and Balor keeps getting pinned, and then he eventually gets kicked out of the group, that maybe could be interesting. So we gotta see where that goes. Again, maybe I'm giving WWE too much credit. Maybe this ends up just not being entertaining or good at all, and they really just do win all the gold back again. Um, I hope not, but maybe that ends up being the case. But I am hoping for, Balor gets kicked out of the group. He turns babyface. We get Balor and Dom. Now that Dom is the Intercontinental Champion again. Um, but yeah, that was Monday Night Raw for December 1st, 2025. As always, I want to know what you guys think and what you guys have to say and what your thoughts are on this episode of Monday Night Raw. So make sure you guys leave me your thoughts down in the comments. I try to reply to all comments as well. So um, I will definitely at some point look through your comments. Um, so yeah, make sure you guys leave your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews that come to the channel. Yeah, that was Monday Night Raw. I had something else to say. I had something else, um, and it completely slipped away from me. I don't know. I really don't know. That completely slipped away from me. I guess this is what happens when you're sick. But as always, once again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I will be back. I believe it will be the AEW Dynamite post-show review that I will be back with. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Once again, to keep your notifications on so you are alerted anytime I drop a podcast or interview or anything along those lines. And until then, take it easy.